So now that we started recording, I went to Chicago. That's not actually my first time going to Chicago. I've been there before because I went to college in Illinois, so of course we go up to Chicago at one point. Still not a fan.
Still not a fan, really?
No, I don't know. Like, I guess I'm so used to the suburbs and that type of stuff, and you know, the backwater country where my mom's family's from. That it's so bizarre to me to have these huge buildings and every light be a person. It's just so many people. It's claustrophobic a little bit, and I definitely I can definitely visit and be okay, but I feel like if I lived there, I would go crazy. I don't know how people, the traffic there. Oh my God. We just wanted to get food, and we went to a restaurant that it didn't seem that busy. And we walk in there and it seems, pretty lively. So we asked to get a table, and they're like, "Oh, no." I'm like, "No? Yeah, no, we're full up for the night. Sorry." I didn't even know that could happen. That's a thing.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
I've never had that happen before anywhere. It seems so obvious in retrospect, but I've never been to a place so busy that they have reservations for the rest of the night. It was on a Wednesday too.
On a Wednesday, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't like a holiday or anything important. It was just a random day. It blew my mind.
How's the food in Chicago though? Is it good? I've heard that they have some pretty good places to eat in Chicago.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I also feel like we went to some Chicago's expensive, so we went to some cheaper places. We didn't go to Sbarro in Chicago or anything like that.
Sure.
But no, it was pretty good. I also don't get the art. So we went to go see The Bean. That's actually not even my first time seeing The Bean. That's always so weird. But they have the underrated art piece in Chicago, or I don't know the real name of it, so I'm just gonna call it the blowjob fountains.
We'll go with the blowjob fountains.
Yeah, have you been to Chicago? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have not, but I've not heard of. Well, I have. Maybe I've heard of it by its proper name. I have never heard of the blowjob fountain, but I'm curious.
I have not heard of these things until I actually went there when I was in college. So it's really right next to the Bean, because everyone goes to the Bean and forgets about this. It's like a mini water park, I guess. I don't know. It's these two brick, very tall towers. I would say maybe a 3-story building, perhaps tall, and on it, facing each other, is an LCD screen of a person's face. And it has all sorts of people's faces, young, old, black, white, Asian, anything.
Yes.
And they'll pop up and they'll just stay there. And every once in a while, their mouth will open and the water spout would flow out.
Oh, good Lord.
And it looks not good. And kids play in the water because there's other little fountains going in there. But every once in a while, just the face will go, and this water spewts out. And it just looks so strange. Everyone talks about how the Bean looks weird. Have you seen those fountains? That's the real highlight of how strange Chicago is.
I will say you did a great job of describing what it looks like. I should have just waited for you to visually describe it. Instead, I went for a very unsafe Google search. I put in Chicago blowjob fountain, and I put the word art after because I thought maybe that would help.
Oh, no.
You want to know what the first 2 results are?
Do I?
The blowjob artist. This is an article from the HuffPost. I'm just gonna read. I'm just gonna read the little piece that previews in the Googles because I don't want to click on it. To become a skilled blowjob artist, you have to be willing to hone your craft. This means many hours hovering over an erect penis.
You Google this, Jordan.
And the second top link is theartoftheblowjob.com. The Art of the Blowjob is a site dedicated to beautiful videos and photos focused on sensual oral sex skills. And I'm not even going to read the next part.
Okay, that's on you.
something that I don't really want to repeat in good taste, as well as new educational ... And then it's this very... Oh, man. The internet is a weird place, Caitie.
You Googled that. That was totally... Yeah, I so it's in the Millennium Park, so I just Googled Millennium Park Fountain. And it's called the Crown Fountain. That's apparently the real name of it, if you want to look it up.
That would... You know what? I don't know, because there might be some weird shit now. Google's going to, the algo's going to think I'm trying to look for something else. And...
Anyway, so that's probably one of the weirder art pieces in Chicago, and you're welcome for that. Everyone from Chicago's like, what the fuck is this girl on about? Why you gotta put Chicago on blast like that? You're from Tulsa.
I will say I've never been to Chicago, but I've heard that art and food are good reasons to maybe visit there at least, and so I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, what are we talking about today?
Oh God, we're gonna transition. There's no way to appropriately transition.
No, I can't.
We're infamous for our bad transitions, but literally we're gonna go from talking about blowjobs to like the solemnity of death. And in a weird way, I feel like that's what our podcast is all about. It's just like stupid bullshit mixed with like, yeah, we can talk about important, like deep, interesting topics.
Oh God, I still can't believe you fucking Googled blowjob fountain and thought you'd get it anyway.
I knew it was a risk, but I was like, it could be a happy accident.
Okay, anyway. Oh, Lord. So, I think to part the curtain a little bit, we originally wanted to do one topic about voice actors, and then we both didn't have time to get good clips, so this is kind of the backup. So, I guess what we decided we want to talk about today is what Jordan kind of said, of talking about, like, death and both, like, how death is viewed and approached in both Dragon Age and Mass Effect. And then, if we have time, I want to talk about ghosts, because I'm that person. So, yeah, I guess, let's just kind of start off lighter. Like, whose death, optional or not optional, do you think affected you most in both series? Or do we want to start out with Mass Effect or Dragon Age? I don't know.
That's a good question. It's weird, because every time I start to sort of go through the potential deaths of Mass Effect, the instance that really comes to mind first, even if the two characters are not necessarily ones that I was most attached to, is the Caitie and Ashley choice. Mm-hmm. The reason why is because it's largely, it's not largely, it is unavoidable. You have to make that choice. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe it's so divisive in some sense they didn't really go back to that sort of, forced choice, but...
Which is a shame, let me tell you.
Right. You don't have to kill Mordin. There's a way to avoid. He's gonna go up there anyway. But I'm just saying, like, you don't have to confront it in that sense. Like, you're letting him do what he's gonna do. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of other ways to sort of feel like, well, hey, whatever happens with this other character death, Rex, what have you, I got myself into this situation by making certain choices where you have a choice with Caitie and Ashley, but I think here's what I'm getting at. The reason why it feels like the case to talk about, if you're going to talk about death in video games and death in Mass Effect, is because it's unavoidable. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of thematically what you have to grapple with if you're gonna talk about death in a game.
I would almost say that the Stroud, Alistair, Loghain / your Hawk could also count, but then again, we still don't even know if they're technically dead. I think they are, but so many people don't think that. So I feel like, yeah, the Caitie and Ashley one's a lot better for that. But yeah, I guess. I remember when I first played it, because I kind of knew it was coming, because I had a friend that was really into the voice actor for Caden. And so she was like, make sure he keeps it alive. But I don't really like Caden, so I was like, oh, well. sorry, man. Yeah, I guess I didn't like Caden, and I guess I wasn't quite into the game yet at that point, because I wasn't too fond of Mass Effect 1, so I almost saw it as a chance to get rid of Caden, which is horrible in a mindset, to be quite honest.
You were trying to get rid of Caden. Well, I know a lot of people say that about Ashley, because Ashley makes comments that are not necessarily enthused about having non-humans on the ship. Mm-hmm. And so people are like, well, she has to die as a punishment for the fact that she's not down with aliens right away. But yeah, okay. So you knew it was coming, and you were kind of just like, I don't really like this party member.
Yeah, because I know Ashley's problematic or whatever, but she's interesting. You know, like she actually said stuff. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay. I understand where you're coming from, but I disagree with you. Thank you for the conversation. Where Caden's just like, hi, I'm Caden. I'm doing Caden stuff. How are you doing, Captain? And I can't remember a goddamn thing about him.
Yeah, you played as a female shepherd, I take it.
I did, yeah.
He has a crush on you. Is that interesting?
No.
You're creeped out by it. You're like, this guy's boring and he has a crush on me.
Oh, it's the worst. It's like Liara. I also not a big fan of Liara. Let me tell you, if it was Liara and Caden, I don't know who I would choose. I'd be like, fuck.
He's like, it's unfortunate I can't choose both.
I know. So I guess like I feel like I can't talk much about Mass Effect when it comes to a lot of like non-optional death things because I wasn't as attached to it as I was in Dragon Age, and I feel like that means so much to these games. Like if you're not attached to the characters, then who cares if Ashley or Kaden dies, you know?
That's true.
So I did. Well, I almost feel like Thane's death was cheap because like you were kind of ready for him to croak, you know what I mean? Because with the disease, and then he gets stabbed by what's his face? I can't even Kai Lang. There it is. And then you're like, oh man. I mean, I guess you died on or like in the way you would probably prefer, but that's still kind of a low blow. I don't know.
Yeah, you're really right for bringing up the Thane thing, right? Because that is another one where that character and then the player through that character has to come to grips with the fact that he's ill. You know, he has a terminal illness, he's dying. And they set it up for, it's really a benefit of the way that trilogy was set up is you got to get to know him and sort of be cognizant and aware and maybe even come up with, you know, sort of like the foundation for acceptance in Mass Effect 2. Right, because from the get-go, from the 5 minutes after meeting him, he's like, "Look, I'm dying. Like I have a terminal illness rather, and I'm not for long in this world, but I can help you finish this mission." Blah blah blah. So by the time 3 comes around, it feels like sort of a gut punch to be like, "Here's this like galaxy's best assassin," and now he's sort of like almost about to be confined to a bed. He is confined to a bed, and that's rough. But it's you know, it's a good way to grapple with that subject matter, and then. And in that twist that you talk about, he gets to go out like a fighter. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one hit hard. I would say that one really hit hard. The prayer that you get to participate in on his deathbed is a real with his son of all things, especially depending on how you handled the loyalty mission in 2 and what the state of his son his relationship with his son is. It really packs a wall up.
Mm-hmm. I would say that to me, that's almost like the death of Mass Effect. Like, I know there's more, and I know there's people had more to it, but I really like Thane. I almost romance Thane, but then, like, I'm weird and decided to go with Garrus because voices. But, like, I think that was a really interesting part of that romance, though, of, like, do you want to get in a relationship with someone who's terminally ill? Like, that's a really interesting question. You know?
Oh, let me tell you, as someone who has a playthrough of romancing Thane, it's freaking crazy. And in particular, in the Citadel DLC, when he sends you the final messages or whatever, that is some of the best goddamn content for Thane in the entire trilogy. Is those last few messages? They're great.
Can you? Because I don't remember the order of the game. Can you do Citadel before he dies?
Citadel is no. I think it had no. I think not, or at least I didn't. But that's a good question because I always do Citadel. I use the mod where it loads up Citadel as the epilogue. So alternate ending, and then there's a mod that actually edits a few lines of dialogue, so makes it sound like it's after everything. That's like my canon now. Is that I use an alternate ending mod for Mass Effect 3, and then play Citadel as the
party.
As the party, yeah.
What else?
So I would say for me, thinking of it as we go, I might remember more and go, oh no, it's that one. I would probably say Thane is that one just packs one of the biggest punches out of all of them. And then I like the choice between Caden and Ashley. But what about? I mean, is there one for Mass Effect that feels like the most impactful? Mass Effect 1 for Dragon Age that feels like the most impactful?
I think it depends on the player. I just did your mother's death in Dragon Age 2, and that's always kind of sad. I feel like for that one, what gets me, like, I feel like For Mass Effect, like, it's like your friends and your buddies, and that's not something that I've necessarily had to deal with. Which, not that I've lost my mother either, but, you know, like, my grandma, she's passed, you know, something about, like, that familial sense. So, like, having that mother figure there, and basically, like, she's dying, she has been brutalized, and, like, all the things she says is just positive, like, look, don't worry about me, I'm gonna go meet your father or your siblings if they've passed, like, I'm just worried about you. Like, it's very, like, sweet and kind of gut-wrenching, because all she's saying is, like, I'm so proud of you, I love you, everything's all right. And then pretty much the only things Hawk can say are, I'm so sorry, I could have gotten here faster. Why am I such a dummy? But no, like, your mother only says, like, it's okay, I love you, be brave. Like, it's really sweet in a way. And, like, I think that can reach to more people. Maybe perhaps in, like, a cheap way, because, like, everyone
Everybody's
has
got a mother.
mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's or at least a mother figure. So it's, you know, it can, I don't know. I think it's also the same thing. I didn't play Human Kuslan the first time, but, like, it actually the voice actor for the mother is the same woman. But, like, that kind of thing where you just, like, lose your parents, or, like, so, like, a parent figure, like, it can be really gut-wrenching. I'm trying to think of ones that really got to me, though.
God, you even mentioned the, because I'm a big fan of Human Noble origin in DAO, and that's another one. Your parents sort of doing the ultimate parent thing of, like, you're going to survive, we're not. That always gets me for some reason. And just sort of, like, the selflessness of, like, you don't get it. Like, it's more important to us that you survive than we do, because that's the whole point to us. It's like, you got to live. That's like, because, again, everybody's got parents, essentially, depending on the state of one's relationship with them. Everybody's got them.
Like,
and that's,
everyone's got parents or parental figures or people they want to.
That's true.
I feel like it's pretty universal. At least
I agree.
that feeling of parental.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, I'm trying to think of, like, other ones. I mean, Duncan's the obvious one, too.
Right.
I feel like I wasn't that attached to Duncan, but, like, I feel like, because I romanced Alistair in my first run, seeing Alistair's reaction to it was a lot more heart-wrenching than the actual death. Like, I feel like Duncan would probably be pretty forgotten about were it not for Alistair constantly bringing him up and constantly thinking about him and, like, talking about the man. Like, I feel like Duncan's rememberability, if you will, is because of Alistair's grief for him. Which is kind of interesting, because I kind of can't think of another character like that in the series. Where, like, he's most known because he made someone sad because he died.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, I feel like in a lot of ways Duncan is, and it's not, I don't know, I don't mean it to take away from his character, but I just think the objective observation of it is, one, he's part of Alistair's character backstory in a sense, but also his death is thematic. He is sort of like the archetype of the he's the Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? Like, he's the older character that sort of introduces you to your story, but thematically he's got to go, because then it's like you have to step up and be the hero.
Yeah.
That's kind of the importance of his death. It's not necessarily meant to be personal, it's meant to be thematic.
Yeah. But then I think they made it personal, though, with Alistair. So I guess that's a good job, Bioware.
Yeah.
This didn't really happen to me, but I feel like a lot of people, they're warden. Especially since they could choose to die or not, so it's really just based on the ethics. Like, do you want to do this strange magic ritual and bring a demon child into the world so you can live? Or are you going to go out guns a-blazing with your morals intact? You know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know people are out there that choose that option. I just don't think I've talked to them personally, so I would love to know the especially since nowadays you know Kieran, like you know who he is, you know he's pretty good, and I like he's just a fine little boy, so like I feel like the people who take that option are dwindling a little bit, because everyone's like, oh, it turns out fine.
Yeah, I think the retrospective thing is part of that. I mean, if you want to talk to one, I did that on my very first playthrough ever of Dragon Age Origins. I thought that the dark ritual thing was manipulative. I was always like, this shifty witch is up to something, and then when she was up to something, even though we've talked about it multiple times, you make a very good argument in retrospect of how it's not actually that shifty, but it feels super shifty.
Oh, no, it totally does, yeah.
My shifty sense was going crazy when I'm like, oh, you shifty witch. I knew it. And then I'm like, wait, what? She's trying to make sexy time and like do demon shit. I'm like, this is confusing, but this sounds like a trick.
Did you romance Morgan or Liliana or nobody?
Liliana on the first go around. And so I was just like, this is kind of weird. Morgan's weird. And so didn't do it. And yeah, I was kind of, I was actually kind of hyped for the possibility of like my character can die. Like I was like, is it really going to happen? Am I really going to die? And I'm like, that's kind of fucking badass that I'm going to go out as the hero. And yeah, I just kind of went for it. Because up until that point, I don't think I had an experience of like a player character dying in a video game.
It's definitely a rare thing. Like I still can't come up with a video game. Like I know it happens. I just don't think I've played another one like it.
As I'm thinking of it, yeah, I don't even think it's a real opportunity in like the RP, because I mean, up until that point, it was really like,
Shepard in Mass Effect 3, I guess, depending on your choice.
Yeah, but I mean, like in 2008, 9 when DAO came out.
Not 9, 10.
Something like that, yeah, and yeah, like there was just RPGs had lots of choice, but it was never possible for your character to die as a part of the story. So I was just like, yeah, that's a really good option.
Mm-hmm. Oh shoot, my screensaver turned on because I wasn't paying attention to it. I'm trying to think of because I mentioned earlier, what are some like empty deaths where it felt cheap, or like, oh, this wasn't needed, or who was that again? Like I feel like Stroud is that for me, because you get Alistair, Arlogain, and Hawk there's some history, and like there's some history with Stroud, and if you look into his backstory, he seems like a really nice guy, but that's a lot of codex entry reading that probably nobody's done. And he has such a small cameo in Dragon Age 2 that everyone's like, who the hell is this guy? That I feel like he's kind of like the Star Trek red shirt of the Grey Warden lineup,
Yeah. I mean, I see you're Stroud, and I raise you one Richard Leroy Jenkins in Mass Effect.
Oh. That's fair.
if we're gonna go for the most meaningless deaths, yeah, it's got to be Jenkins. He is literally red shirt. Well, not literally red shirt, but thematically red shirt.
Yeah, really. I know people could also say Jory and the other guy. Fuck, what was his name? David. Jory and David. But I think they actually served a purpose. They were showing you how dangerous becoming a Grey Warden is.
True.
In both that you can die in the joining, and if you don't want to take it, too bad, too late. And also showing a little bit of I almost said Dragon's Duncan's character. That's a really important moment. I agree with you though. Jenkins, like what did his death do? Just show that you could die, like people die in the game, like that. I don't know, like there's corpses everywhere. Ashley's whole unit died, like
right, and it has way more meaning because of the effect of that on her than Jenkins.
Mm-hmm. Like I know, like there's a lot of people in the crew that's like, oh, poor Jenkins, but it's not like you knew the guy. I don't know.
Yeah, like he basically showed the purpose of why you don't fight Geth without cover. Mm-hmm. Also, like you're right, like to show that people who are quote unquote in your squad can die. Because to me, it really sucks. But in a lot of ways, it feels like a feature of a demo that just got left in the game. Like this is what we need to show at E3, and they just kind of left it.
I feel like if you mentioned like it kind of shows that people in your squad can die, and like the only time that really happens is Ashley or Caden. Rex, can't he?
Rex, you can kill Rex, or Ashley can kill him.
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of stuff.
I feel like if it was, I know that's at least 2 times, so I guess that can be like a good. I don't know. I feel like it just didn't happen enough to warrant that being a warning. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. It always, it's like that one moment that. Yeah, I would say that's definitely, as far as party members, that's got to be one of the ones that feels the most, it doesn't have as much impact as it should.
Yeah. I would also say on that, Myri from Dragon Age Awakenings is pretty similar to that, because like by that time, the Grey Warden thing isn't very safe.
Right.
And like, it would, again, kind of like Jenkins, if one of the other recruits that you pick up could die, it would kind of make sense, but she's the only death of the whole Grey Warden ritual. So I feel like she was just like, you're supposed to feel sad because she was the only competent person that you can recruit this entire like DLC. So
Right.
when she dies, just like, oh fuck, I'm with these losers.
Right, you're with the
No.
motley crew, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like her death is. Would I say it's more meaningless than Jenkins? It might be. I don't know, because at least Jenkins is like, well, you know, companions can die at like the last half of the game, versus. Really just to say you're with incompetent people.
Right. You know, one, this is just random, it just pops to mind, but like you can kill Samara in 2 because you can choose Morinth instead of Samara.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's not the only instance in which you can kill one of your party members. I mean, you can do it a couple different times, Rex and Morden and all this other stuff, but at least with those, it kind of feels like, you know, if you kill Morden, it's because you must really, really believe that Genophage should not be cured. Kind of similarly with Rex, you know what I mean? Like there's this big, heavyweight thing that sort of drives your decision, and it's like, man, I really don't want to do this, but you're wrong. You could kind of see it from that roleplay standpoint. The option to kill Samara is like, what the fuck are you doing?
Isn't it like, I always... Because I only watched the cutscenes. I didn't actually play it. Like, I kind of got the sense, like, the only reason you would kill Samara if, one, you kind of felt weird having a mother try to kill her daughter, and so, like, you had something about that, or you totally wanted to get in her daughter's pants.
That's the second one.
Yeah.
I mean, that first part of it is there, right? You could take the standpoint of, like, well, your daughter shouldn't be killed or whatever, even though her daughter is a psychopathic, murdering maniac.
Yeah.
But it also feels like there's this weird gameplay thing of you get the one special ability that you can only get if you kill Samara. And so there's just weird, like, oh man, I really want that ability. What is it? Dominate? Yeah, I think it's dominate, because you get Reeve if you just get Samara's loyalty. I think you get dominate with Morinth. And there's a total loophole. You can kill Samara and reload a save, and you get it anyway.
Really?
Yeah, I think you can save at the right point and do it. But that one always feels like I don't know, like there's not enough like psychological impact from that. Like Shepard, I feel like should to me, Shepard's character is really dark if you do that.
Mm-hmm. So I guess that is pretty empty. There's also like a couple like NPCs in Dragon Age where it's like, why? Like the annoying Javaris Tintop in Dragon Age 2, he's like the Dwarven seller that tries to cheat you, and like he wants the Gatlock powder recipe, and the Irish Duck doesn't want it, so he tries to cheat you to, you know, do things or whatever, and like you can end up killing him at the end of the quest in Act 2, and it's like he's an asshole and he tried to cheat you, yeah. But you don't have to kill him. That's a little much. Like,
yeah, it feels pretty satisfying though, because
does it though? I don't get the satisfying feeling, because it's like, yeah, you wronged. Like, I would, if it was like Sister Patrice, I get it. She tried to have us killed. This guy just tried to take money from us. Anyone who was trying to kill us was actually from the crazy elf lady, which he tells us. So like, I feel like killing him's like, all right, that's a little cold-blooded in my opinion.
I can't remember. Here I am, like, oh, how can you possibly kill Samara, but this dwarf guy? I'm like, kill him!
What a bastard!
I can't remember. Do you fight him, or do the Qunari kill him?
No, his guards go after you, because you're in there to go after him, because he has the, you think he has the Gatlock powder. So his guards attack you. So I guess, like, that's could be an act of aggression, I guess. But, like, you're also there to attack him, too, so, like, I get it. Like, you kind of are the aggressor in that situation.
Yeah.
And so when it's over, and, like, all of his guards are dead, he's like, look, I'm sorry, please don't kill me, I just tried to cheat you. And you're like, no, you have the Gatlock powder. He goes, oh, no, I don't. And then you realize the misunderstanding. Like, you were totally going to kill this guy, but then he was like, then he clarified the situation. So, I don't know, I always felt weird killing him.
Yeah, I mean, it is cold-blooded if he's, you know, not a particular threat to you at the moment. But, Hawk don't play.
Hawk don't play, yeah. No, Hawk probably has some of the more ruthless decisions in the Dragon Age series, like giving Fenris away, or, like, I guess just agreeing with what Anders does.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Anders, you can also then get a little stabby with him afterwards.
that one I'm always so torn on, because I think morally I agree that, you do that sort of act of aggression and you kill so many innocents. Yeah, maybe you should be stabbed.
Right.
At the same time, he's your friend, and I would have a really hard time doing that. Not that I think my friend should survive, but like in some weird code of honor, like, you helped me. You did all these things for me. You helped me survive. You helped my brother become one of the wardens. Like, you deserve to die, but I don't think I can kill you, So that one's hard for me.
That's a really interesting take, and I think it's completely relatable. I think, and if I were to try and imagine this in a naturalistic setting, I would agree with you. It'd be like the most impossible thing ever. But there is a different tack to it also, right? There's like the Game of Thrones approach of like the one who gives the sentence, swings the sword. Like, in some sense, is it more honorable to say like, well, if anyone's going to do it, it should be me? Again, I don't think that plays out for 99% of the population in a naturalistic setting, because that's a fucking tough thing to do. But in a fantasy setting, maybe.
We're both just coughing up a storm this morning, aren't we?
You ain't kidding.
It's not even that early. Anyway. Yeah. Now I'm just thinking of like I don't know what you call it, but like how we take killing others in the game. Like, it's a game, so like of course you're gonna have to kill people, but like the body count for all the PCs, pretty high. And sometimes it's like people that didn't really deserve to die, like maybe you could have tried a non-aggressive option. And like at one part, like, it's a game, what else are you gonna do? I get it. But I also think it's something that isn't touched upon in the games. I think it would be a lot more interesting, like, if you even if you had to kill somebody, like, the game just recognized, like, holy shit, you just ran down all of those people. Like, in the quest, actually the same quest with the Gatlock powder, there's, like, all those crazy people that went crazy because of the powder. And there's at least one very obvious woman who was just an innocent bystander, and she went crazy and she goes to attack you. And instead of trying to subdue her, you just stab her, and that's it, No one even talks about that. So, like, little moments like that where, like, this person probably could have been subdued somehow, but you just ended up killing them, Like, there's a couple instances of that, at least in Dragon Age. I don't know about Mass Effect.
That's a really good point about how many people that you kill. This is such a common thing in video games generally. There is such a dissonance between the body count and a question about your characters and, in fact, your morality. One of the only video games that ever addresses this directly is Spec Ops: The Line, which has been written about ad nauseum and discussed at length because of its thematic resonance, but it's one of the only video, and a military shooter at that actually makes you reckon with the fact that you are killing a lot of people. Sometimes you are killing innocent people without knowing it. Sometimes you might be killing innocent people and you pretend that you don't know it, but you do. Very interesting topic in video games, period. And I think Mass Effect and Dragon Age aren't the worst culprits by any means.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
But they're also not innocent, so they're just kind of in there with every other game, which is like, yeah, you kill a lot of people, and some people didn't like the dreams, the nightmares that Shepard has in Mass Effect 3, because they wanted to, sort of role play bulletproof Shepard. Like, what if my Shepard, whatever, wouldn't be bothered by this? But it's just like, Jesus Christ, man! Like, no matter what, Shepard has lost friends. Like, she's lost people she cares about no matter what. So it's like, how do you and killed people as well, even though the dreams aren't specifically about. Well, look, in some case they are, right? Because if you kill Rex, that bothers you. Yeah. Shepard has those nightmares about that. So yeah, I would say
it's much more interesting for the character rather than bulletproof. I know people probably wanted that, but like, no, that's a great character moment, because like, right. If you're in that, if a real person's in that situation, they're probably going to be haunted. So.
Real people are haunted by yelling at people. Do you know? Have you ever? You know what I mean?
No, definitely.
You yell at someone and you feel bad about it for years. How the hell would you not, carry guilt over killing someone who's supposed to be at the very least your comrade, your companion, your teammate, if not your friend? So yeah, that's one of the things that's really interesting about this in Andromeda is Andromeda has a stats page. So Andromeda has a kill counter. So you can actually see how many people you've killed, which is really kind of distressing when you consider the fact that there's 20,000 per arc. There's about 100,000 colonists in the Andromeda Galaxy, period.
Oh.
It breaks out a separate statistic for Ket. If I'm not mistaken, it doesn't break out a separate one for like each species.
Mm-hmm.
So if you really think about it, and I think I can't remember where it says this, but if you think about all the people that died in the uprising and the people that have died in the initial colonies, it's somewhere down to between like 60 or 70,000 left.
Wow.
If you just take out Angara from your kill count, like anyway, my kill count was like for the entire game and with a completionist run, it's like a couple thousand.
Mm-hmm.
Because you would think, yeah, you probably kill about a couple thousand enemies in there. It's like when the population is only 60,000 people and
that's a lot.
One fucking dude just took out a couple thousand. Like it's a real weird contradiction to be fighting for the survival of the species, all these species, and you're killing people in a very limited, relatively speaking, a very limited pool of people. Like there's more people that attend a World Cup soccer game than are part of the Andromeda Initiative.
That is an amazing point for Andromeda that I've never thought of. That wouldn't have been, it's so interesting that the initiative was like, look, we only got a certain amount of people. Can you really, really try killing means for these type of people? So you would have a whole different weapon set for people that came from the Milky Way. And that God would have been such a cool mechanic. I'm just upset now.
It would have been so phenomenal, but first of all, it would have been so phenomenal. I would have loved that. That would have gotten widespread attention because that would have been such a unique gameplay feature for any game. But once again, it falls into the category of like, hey, Bioware, how come you couldn't have done this incredibly complex thing that would have required a ton of time?
We also have to mark off the rewritten Andromeda board.
Once again, back down to 0. I think we only made it a week or 2 weeks this time.
Yeah, and I think 1 week was because we didn't have a podcast then, so like God. Yeah. Damn. Well, if they ever do an Andromeda 2, hey BioWare, we have some suggestions. That. God, yeah, that would have been such an interesting mechanic to be like, okay, oh no, like these are humans. We're gonna have to, switch out I don't even know what type of, like a taser, I guess, and like just bring a bunch of like handcuffs.
Yeah, I would like some goo. I would like some you shoot like a thing that also, if it ragdolls the enemy, you know what I mean, like a big giant like a hardening foam or something like that just hits them and then they stay encased in it.
Yeah.
And I would love it if they, this is like, again, time and resources thing, but it would be so awesome if you could like encase enemies and they recorded dialogue because they're like helpless on the ground. And they're just like, fuck you, you piece of shit, let me out of here as you're going on the rest of the fight.
Oh, man. And then that would make the Sloan versus Reyes choice a lot more interesting, I feel like, because
you could trap Reyes in foam.
Oh, God. Yeah. And then there'd also be the question of like, okay, these people are obviously bad, but we don't want them to die because like we need people. What do we do with them?
Yeah.
Like, are we just going to have a giant fucking jailhouse? Are we going to have a planet of these people and make sure they can't leave and they just do whatever? Are we going to just like take away their humanity because we need their genetics or something? Like I'm just mad now.
It's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting.
We need to move on. How much? Oh, go on.
A couple of other ones that come to mind in the sort of in the camp of, it's kind of hard to call them meaningless. They're almost just sort of, they kind of sidestep the issue, right? Like you send Grunt out the airlock, or I'm sorry, you can sell him back to. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking selling him back is Legion, right? You can sell Legion to Cerberus, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And you can send Grunt out the airlock. Those are just kind of like, that's what's happening. You're essentially killing them, but it kind of sidesteps the whole issue. I just think that's kind of interesting.
I can't really think of a Dragon Age moment like that where like you purposely kill someone, other than like maybe if you're poisoning the urn and you can kill Wynn and Liliana, who step up and say they don't believe in that.
I killed Zevran on my first playthrough.
That's true, yeah. But like I feel like that's a bit different because he tries to kill you, and so you end up killing him. Like that's That makes sense. Just pushing, like, selling Legion, like, that's a whole different level. You know what I mean? I don't know. At least I feel. Unless you're you and you don't like it.
Well, look, I mean, that's we're on that topic, so that's an interesting one, right? Let's talk about Legion. Let's also talk about Tally, because Tally is let me think. Is that unique in Bioware?
Wait, what?
Tally commits suicide.
Oh shit, you're right.
Is that the only suicide? Is that the only instance of someone taking their life? No, Samara.
Oh, Samara, yeah.
So there's a couple of instances of suicide, which is I mean, God, obviously it goes without saying that's a huge and tough topic, but wow.
Can we just, like, real quick? I don't think they're ever gonna do that type of thing again in any series. Like, I feel like I just I don't want to say, like, they don't have the balls anymore, because it's not really what I mean. I just feel like BioWare isn't really going in a direction where they would want to have a character commit suicide again, you know? Like, I think it was only in one game for a reason.
It's a man, it's a tough thing, right? It's one of those things where I mentioned this about romance, right? Like at some point where it feels like romance was a good depth option in an RPG. It's really about having a conversation system and a choice system and a quest system where different things happen. And so it's like, well, what if you could have a relationship that was a romantic relationship? That's another interesting choice. And people dying, I think they've always approached it with a good amount of solemnity, but at a certain point, how much time do you need to dedicate to a suicide to make people feel like you did it justice, right? Because that's such a huge thing. To treat it appropriately, you might have to take so much time where you just think, look, we can't properly do this justice and handle all of the different ramifications from that. You do have conversations about those character deaths in Mass Effect 3, but I won't even say that it was handled badly, because I don't think that it was, but I just think in the climate that we're in, you're going to face so much more scrutiny, especially as in all seriousness, that is a fucking epidemic in the United States.
Oh yeah, it's growing too.
It's like, astonishing and terrifying that as so many other forms of death are going down, murder and everything, despite the news, things like murder go down year over year, pretty much since the 1960s in an almost straight line, and yet suicides are going up. That's terrifying.
For young people, too, which is crazy. Like,
right.
You would think, like, let's be honest, baby boomers with a healthcare crisis, some people are going to choose that option. But no, the numbers are climbing for the younger population, because things just feel so hopeless, even depending if they actually are or not, I don't know. But, like, yeah, it's awful. There's probably, like, I was reading an article about different reasons why they think it's rising. I know, like, the opioid crisis is one. Some even say, like, the openness of being aware of mental health, which I'm like, that's not. There's an argument for that, but I'm not, like, sold on it. But, like, yeah, it's kind of crazy. I think it's like what the highest now. It's as high now as it was during the Great Depression. Which is nuts.
That's fucking astounding.
This is probably the part where we probably need a trigger warning for these.
Well,
I'm not like a huge trigger warning person, but like for suicide, I'm like, all right, that's.
Trigger warnings have some usefulness. So that might be one.
Yeah.
I was right about to say we're not prepared to, or we're not qualified to talk. I'm not qualified to talk about this.
I was about to say, like, I'm sorry.
You technically are.
I am. Yeah. I'm okay not doing that, but that's come up sometimes. Yeah. Everyone who like doesn't know me, like, why is she? Well, trying to quickly move on to another topic. How much time do we have left? Can we touch on ghosts a bit? Because like that's kind of the fun part, like a fun.
Yeah, I think we should have time. We're at about 45 minutes. Let's see. I want to just make sure if we're not missing anyone that will come back on, and the comments will come back on. Like, how do you not talk about this death?
What about Iron Bull?
Iron Bull. I mean, you really think about it. There's so many interesting ones. Iron Bull's another great one.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it before. I just love the thematics of it. Like, I feel like as much as it feels like a gut punch, which is weird because he tells you within 5 minutes he's a spy.
Yeah.
The way that you avoid it, to me, is the right way, right? Like, you teach him to sort of have this commitment to a value system and a support system of people outside of the Qun, and that's what, sort of breaks him from that strict ideology. And so when that moment comes to pass, he can take your side. I don't know. I just like the setup for it, and I love how delayed it is. I know it can. Again, I on that first playthrough didn't do that, so I was like, "Fuck, I hate this." But when I realized what it was, I was like, you know what? That was his turning point, and it doesn't matter how long ago it was. It makes sense that it comes to fruition in Trespasser.
Yeah. I know a lot of people didn't like it because, oh, my friend betrayed me, but I thought that was probably one of the better decisions with Bull's character, because, like, of course, it makes so much sense. It would be weird to not have him do that when you think about it, He's loyal to the Qun, and the Qun's trying to attack, which, a quick aside, so after Trespasser, the Qun was like, oh no, we didn't do all those things, it was a crazy lady. We know that's not true. We don't actually believe that. That's what the Qun says. I get it, but like that's a lot of Canary. Like that had to have some help behind it. Like that's a very big initiative. Anyway, but like yeah, he's loyal to the Qun, so of course he's going to be loyal to the Qun. You know what I mean? Like it makes so much sense. It is perfect, and I'm so glad they were able to do that. And I also wish there's more of that in the series. I'm trying to think of like another.
Tons of people die in the Mass Effect 2 suicide mission, and it's interesting because there's so much pressure because it's like a gameplay thing. It's did you set everything up correctly? Did you pick the right people? And then there's a formula about holding the line and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. It all has a good amount of pressure, I guess, because it is dependent on how well you perform, and so I like that. But especially if you get it wrong, or if you have one of those playthroughs where, for whatever reason, you just want to see how many people you can get killed, once it starts to be a few of them, it's like they all happen too quickly. Like, you just kind of get a shot of bodies lying on the ground, especially on the hold the line part, and then, whatever, people kind of hang their head as they go back to the ship, but it never really has as much weight as if only one or two people die. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like you get numb to it, like, oh, well. I also feel like to kill a lot of people, like, you kind of have to go in doing that. Like, there's a couple options where the game's like, you should send one of these people in. And like, I'm going to choose that person. The game's like, okay, you fucked up. Like, we told you who to send, and now you're not going to do it. That's on you. So... Yeah, no, also, it's referenced in the marketing in every situation as the suicide mission. So on some level, you're kind of prepped, and everyone's prepped for like, yeah, we're not coming back from this. Mm-hmm. Something, not quite to obviously the same extent as the suicide mission, but the ending of Dragon Age 2, if you don't friend everybody, a lot of like interesting things can happen. Like we're going to have some interesting things happen with the Versace run that we're going to do in a couple days here. Like if you don't have max approval with everybody and you choose like the mages, like they're like Aveline's not gonna be cool with that, and I think there's a couple others. I think Sebastian's not cool with that. If you choose the Templars, like Fenris is for the mages, yeah. Like if you choose the Templars, like Meryl's gonna try to attack you. Like your friends, people you've been with for in the scope of Dragon Age 2, like I think 8 years, I think in total, they will attack you because you didn't hang out with them enough. You weren't close enough friends. And I think most people do just end up either completely rivaling or completely being friends with them, so they don't experience that as much. But playing a Hawk that doesn't really care about their friends, the ending is a lot better, almost. a lot more twists and turns. So I will say that's kind of fun.
Yeah, word. I don't know. I think we've probably covered like random ones. It's fucked up if you don't go fast enough in Mass Effect 2, and the crew, like Chakwas, gets turned into goo. Yeah. I've never done that because I went right away, but God, I would feel fucking terrible if I was like, I just wanted to do a couple side missions, because that's such a typical RPG thing. Like, you want to be a completionist, you want to do all of it, and they're like, no, bitch, we said go right away.
Yep. I kind of want to talk about Ghost still, but I feel like that's a whole, like, there's a lot I want to say on it, so I almost feel like we want to save it for another episode now.
It's a huge potentially it's a huge topic, right? Because I was trying to talk about the equivalent in Mass Effect, which doesn't exist exactly, but there's something to that as well. I'll leave it up to you. Do you want to maybe give like people, because we've now teased it 3 times, you want to just maybe tell people a little bit about what we're thinking when we say ghosts?
Specifically in Thetis. Sometimes I just
I do it too.
Yeah, it's just gonna happen. Specifically in Thetis, so like there's it's kind of like the question of the divine in Dragon Age Inquisition. In the Here Lies the Abyss questline. Is that the divine or is it not? Like, you kind of get the sense at the end, it's like, okay, this isn't really the divine. But, like with Cole, the whole book, you think he's Cole. Like, for all intents and purposes, he is a boy named Cole that was born in Ferelden, had an abusive father, and mother was, really nice to him. But then you find out he's actually not. He's not Cole at all. He just has Cole's memories. And that's fucking wild. And there might be more of that. Like, that's kind of what Liliana is, if you kill her in Dragon Age Origins. She's basically entirely the same, except for at one point she disappears at the end.
Yeah.
The spirits of the Fade can pretty much exactly copy people. So how important is the concept of an immortal soul, as so to speak, in Thetis? Like, if the game people in the game do believe souls exist, but then spirits are also different. So it's weird, like, they don't believe in ghosts, like you're the immortal spirit coming back and, like, telling people. They believe in spirits mimicking. So in Thetis, which one's which, people don't quite know. So ghosts and spirits are different things, which is kind of wild, especially like at least in English, like they're interchangeable pretty much. But yeah, I guess just the concept, what I'm really talking about is that idea that something that can basically replace you, are they now you? And that's really what I mean by that conversation. And you were talking about in Mass Effect, the idea of like uploading your consciousness to an AI. Does that mean, there's actually a whole game about that. Oh God, what's the game called? Soma? Is that it?
I believe that's the one. Yeah, I have not. Yeah. That's been in my Steam library forever, and I have not played it. Heard it has a very good story. It's interesting, though. I mean, that's I would say that's a somewhat common trope in science fiction. I'm actually reading a Neil Stephenson book right now, his new book called Fall, which is basically dealing with that very topic. Mm-hmm. A guy who dies and his body is stored cryogenically, and he has some crazy will where it looks like what he wanted was to have himself uploaded. So yeah, and I couldn't think of, I felt like there was an instance of that in Mass Effect, and then I couldn't remember exactly, but then I thought, well, the one that's sort of like that is the ending, the Control ending with Shepard, because Shepard kind of becomes God Shepard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which I always thought that end, because like, at least with the extended edit or whatever, like there are like, one's done by Edie, one's done by, who's the Destroy ending?
Probably Anderson.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. And then the Control ending is just like AI Shepard, which is kind of bonkers. It's like, oh, this is my Shepard. Oh, this is not my Shepard. This is somebody else. And it's kind of weird like that. Like, oh, my Shepard consciousness became a Reaper, which is, I don't know. That always like weirds me out, so I don't think I could ever make that decision, unless I'm doing like a wild run where that just seems like the idea.
I've done wild runs, and I'll tell you, I'm 12 for 12. Just destroy. It's over and over again. There's only one ending to Mass Effect 3, as far as I'm concerned.
Not even the synthesis?
No, that's creepy.
Oh, okay. I know we talked about this, and like I don't disagree with you completely, but like even I've given Fenris away just to see what would happen. You know what I mean? Like,
you're so right. I'm a purist.
Yeah, you kill all the robots and give away Fenris.
It's funny. I've done so many playthroughs where I don't kill all the robots, but well, in a sense I do because I picked the destroy option.
Yeah. We all know what your true allegiance is like. Anyway, I guess I feel like we could always come back to this at a later date, but I'm so. Because you say it's a trope in science fiction, but it's not really a trope in fantasy. So the fact that they brought that up in a fantasy setting for Dragon Age is something I really like. And I kind of they did really touch upon it with Cole, like the mechanics of it happening. But I kind of wish we can meet like someone who knew Cole before, which we know enough of Cole's backstory where that wouldn't make any sense because like his entire like family is dead, and because there's a whole not science I guess, but most families that have abuse in them, like physical abuse, they kind of alienate the family because they don't want the secret getting out. So the idea that Cole could be known by really anyone else would be unusual because his father was highly abusive. So his family was probably very alienated. So I don't think it could happen with Cole. But I kind of wish it did happen with Liliana, where like someone who was really, really close to Liliana or like knew she had died come and seeing her and saying like, you're acting just a bit differently. Or saying like, oh, I thought you died, like rather than she just tells the Inquisitor. And the Inquisitor's like, oh, man, that sucks. You thought you died and you're alive. That's interesting. But I kind of wish there was some dialogue that mentioned, like, oh, you're exactly the same. Or, oh, you're just a bit different. You're more ruthless than I remember. Something like that. Like, are there any differences? Is she exactly like Liliana? I don't know. But...
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that there's a lot to it. We could probably... People can let us know. Hashtag ghost yes. Hashtag ghost...
Ghost yes! I feel like there's a better name for ghosts for this, but, like, it's just... That's what when you said, like, oh, let's talk about death, I'm like, ghosts seem appropriate. Oh, there's this... I don't know, that's how it is. I feel like there's, like, an actual name for the trope, but I just can't come up with it in my mind.
Sure, hashtag Patrick Swayze yes. Hashtag Patrick Swayze.
Patrick Swayze! Oh, no, because, like, that's kind of a reference that's, like, a little old for us. Our audience is not going to understand that. Have you seen Ghost, by the way?
Sure, it's a classic.
It's not a good movie.
It's a good, it was a good movie in 1990.
Was it really 1990?
Yeah. Do you feel old yet?
Oh, damn. Yeah. That was before I was born, though, so I can be like, hey... I'm younger than Ghost by, like, probably a couple months, but that's okay.
Yeah.
This is really random because we're on the topic of ghosts, but the reason I saw the movie Ghost was my mom's had some paranormal experiences, and she said the scene in the movie where I forgot what the setup was, but some evil guy dies and he gets, like, taken away by, like, strange shadows. Mom says that those strange shadows are exactly what she saw as a kid. So that's why she made me watch it. Like, those things are real, Caitie. I'm like, ah!
Your mom got spooked by some shadows. Is that what you're saying?
She did, yeah. It's kind of a fun story. I don't know how much we want to go into the story, but essentially, like, she lived in a house right by an abandoned graveyard. I say house, it was a trailer, but whatever. For, like, however many years she was there, pretty much at least once a week she would see a dark shadow hovering over her bed, and it, like, really scared her, and it was, like, really terrifying, and she tried to tell her family for years, and they always made fun of her for it. And then when this jump into years later, when I'm alive, I think I was about 10 at this point, during one Thanksgiving, Mom was bringing it up and making fun of her siblings for not believing her. And her siblings like, oh, no, we made fun of you because Mom didn't come from a great house, because Dad was making fun of you and we didn't want to be victimized by Dad. We actually saw it too. And
what? Everybody saw it?
Yeah, apparently everyone was seeing it, just no one wanted to admit it. And my mom's such a loudmouth that they're like, yeah, actually, But, like, it was kind of weird because my aunt would see it in the morning, apparently, when she was getting ready. And, like, she would find it, like, crossing behind a doorway when she was looking in the mirror. And then my uncle, when he was a kid, because he's the youngest one, he would see it usually during the midday looking out the windows when he was playing out in the yard. And then my mom would see, like, this motherfucking thing had a schedule looking at all these children. So that's my mom's scary story of some strange, dark, shadowy ghost figure living in their trailer by the abandoned graveyard.
Sounds like some curtains moving to me.
Yeah, well...
My girlfriend always gets mad at me because she feels like these things happen to her, and I just mock her relentlessly. Which is ridiculous because I'm religious. Like, I believe in things that are, at least like a deity. But the possibility of anything like that, actually, I'm just, I'm not even saying I know that it didn't happen. I just know that the probability of it happening has to be astronomically low.
You're just like my dad, because like my dad is super Catholic, like, oh, he's super Catholic, Jordan, oh my god, and he doesn't believe in ghosts, and all the time me and my mom are like, Dad, why?
You believe in Jesus.
You believe in Jesus. You believe all of the Our Lady of Fatima, where the sun dance and all these crazy shit happens, but you don't believe your own wife. You don't believe your own wife. So, yeah, he's good natured about it, but like, oh yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, we went off on a tangent here. So, I don't know if we're gonna cut that or not. That was just a very long tangent.
Yeah, we might leave it. It's we started off the episode in a very strange way.
I don't really want to say we started off and ended the episode very similarly, because one, we're talking about blowjobs, and the other one, we're talking about my parents. So I would rather not equate those two.
Well, we also talked about Ghost and Patrick Swayze. I don't know.
I guess. Well, where can they find you, Jordan?
I was about to say, that's the end of the episode, people. People can find me at The Exalted March on YouTube, on Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit, kind of. And where can the folks find you, Caitie?
They can find me on YouTube as Ghildirthalen, and on Twitter as Ghildirthalen. And I'm going to say that's it for now, because I'm really backed up on Reddit messages. Please don't message me on Reddit. Thank you. I guess with that, guys, Durasher all. Don't get haunted.